Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How y'all doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today we're doing a light-hearted rant video about the things I hate about some of the products that I own or have owned. So basically my product pet peeves. So if that sounds like something you're interested in today, please keep on watching. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I am a lover of all things high and colorful beauty and self-care. Ultimately, this is my self-care, so I enjoy coming out here talking to you guys about all the things that I love and or hate about the beauty industry, the products, the self-care stuff, makeup stuff, all the things. And I hope that sounds like something you're interested in. Because this is my self-care, I do it quite often. I'm uploading 3 days a week, and I hope that you'll find that you want to subscribe before you go. Welcome yourself into my beautiful YouTube fam here. I would love to welcome you in personally. Let me know down in the comment section if you do that so that I can do that. And if a good old rant video sounds like something you're interested in today, please keep on watching. So today we're talking a good old rant video because there are just some things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Some things that I really don't love about some of the products that I love in my collection. And I wanted to see if you guys feel the same. I have a plethora of stuff here. This is not all inclusive, meaning this isn't all of the things that drive me nuts about products, but it is some of the things that drive me nuts about products. They're top of mind right now. I wanted to bring them to you. So let's start with my number one is bulky packaging. So I have a few examples here for you. These are Lime Crime palettes, and you would think by looking at them that there is a ton of product in here. This is a pretty bulky package, and it is beautiful packaging. There are 8 shadows in here. For comparison, I have this guy here, which is a Viseart Petite palette that has 0.28 ounces of product in it. This Lime Crime palette has 0.456 ounces of product in it. So not apples to apples, really. This has twice the amount of product in it than this one does. But they both have 8 shades. And even though this one has twice the amount of product in it that this one does, there's so much more packaging of this one than there is of this little tiny Viseart palette. Like, this drives me nuts. This could take up so much less space than what they have done. And I get 100% that this is what their packaging is, but I don't think that it is necessary. And to further that thought process, these are Benefit box powders, and I love Benefit. I love Benefit so much. And they have done some miniaturization of the boxes. Not to say that they've made them much smaller, but they are smaller. They're less deep than they are here now, by about a third less deep. But these are huge. And I do understand that they used to make them this big because they used to come with a brush as well, but nobody uses that brush. And also there is just so much wasted space in these boxes. It's ridiculous. I love that they come with a mirror. I think that that is fantastic, but there is just so much wasted space in these boxes. Like, they take up so much room. And even though they have made these boxes smaller, they still take up so much room in your makeup drawer. So that would be number one, bulky packaging. I also think that there are some other things that I maybe don't have in my collection right now, but like Physicians Formula bronzer is also super bulky packaging. Physicians Formula powders also are super bulky packaging because they too include a brush. Nobody uses these brushes, so maybe make the packaging sans brush and make it smaller. Like, nobody uses those brushes. If you are a person that uses those brushes, I'm sorry, but you're of the minority. Those are probably the worst brushes for you guys to be using, to be honest, to put on your makeup. But that said, the Physicians Formula bronzers also fall into a whole nother category for me, which is cheap packaging that takes no time at all to break. I think I have had 3 Physicians Formula bronzers in my collection at one point in time or another, and every single one of those packages has broken. In addition to that, I have had 2 Hourglass setting sprays in my collection. $50 setting sprays that I used for maybe 2 weeks, and the sprayer broke. And this isn't a setting spray that's like the Urban Decay one where you could unscrew it and dump it into another setting spray bottle. It is a setting spray that you cannot use if the packaging breaks. Hello, Hourglass. It's a $50 setting spray. Make it better. Make it better. That's all I got to say. I've also had some Hourglass mascaras. I think I've had 2 different Hourglass mascaras, different kinds of Hourglass mascaras that have broken. One was the triangle shaped one, and I used it for a couple of months, and honestly, you should be replacing your mascara after 3 months anyway, so I got a good amount of use out of both of these mascaras, to be honest with you. But after a couple of months, like, there's something about the like stopper piece that breaks inside those mascara wands, and maybe I'm just using my Hulk strength and closing it too tightly, but then when I reopen it, like, the stopper and everything comes out and it's just one big gloopy mess, and I can't use it anymore. So that one, and the one that I recently just finished using, that one I did get like 4 months use out of, so that one I'm pretty pleased with. But also, how much use could you really get out of it if the component didn't break? So like, Hourglass in and of itself encompasses like 2 of the 3 items that I just talked about with packaging that breaks, right? And Hourglass is not cheap. In addition to that, I had a Danessa Myricks eyeliner that did the same thing. Like, it just all of a sudden started leaking, and I can get eyeliners to last a good amount of time, but that one I think only lasted like 3 months before it started leaking all over the place. So I'm not a fan of packaging that breaks, especially in light of the amount of money that we're all out here spending on these products. Another thing that drives me nuts is liquid eyeshadows that come in a squeezy tube. Like, why do they come in a squeezy tube like this? Why do they not have like some sort of like doe foot on the end of them? Why do you need to squeeze them out of this onto a palette and like use your own brushes or your fingers, and therefore waste the product that you had to squeeze out, because some of that product in and of itself is going to end up not necessary in use? I think that liquid eyeshadows or cream eyeshadows should come with a doe foot, much like the Urban Decay like eye primer, right, comes with a doe foot that slips into it. I think that that's how cream eyeshadows should come as well, even though I don't love that eye primer, and part of the reason why I don't love that eye primer is because of that doe foot. But I do think that doe foots have a place, and on a cream eyeshadow is where they should be, but I don't love them on the Urban Decay eye primer. So I know that's silly and stupid. And like I said, this is a rant over things that are not 100% rational, right? Another thing that really bothers me is loose powders without a sifter, or loose powders with a sifter with holes that are too big. So I do know that these ones are older. Like these are loose eyeshadows from Bare Minerals, but look at the holes in that sifter, and they do not, there's 4 of them, and it doesn't come with like a cover. So this is just like, just from opening it, it just made such a mess on my hand, on my desk, on my notebook. Like, it just makes a mess. I do love me a sifter in a like powder product that has like a cover to it, and I think that brands are for the most part doing that mostly these days, but sometimes they still make these like sifters that have holes that are too big or no holes at all. I have some pigments in my collection that don't have a sifter at all. They just are an open chasm of pigment, and that is also irritating and frustrating in and of itself, because the powder just goes everywhere. You open it up and the powder just goes everywhere. So we need sifters that close in our products and sifters that don't have holes that are too big in our products. Another thing that drives me nuts are doe foots that are too big or doe foots that are too small. So I have 3 different products here to talk about, and I think that this one most specifically brought it to light for me because this is a foundation, and this doe foot is so stuck in here that when you pull it out, it spits foundation everywhere if you are not so careful to get the doe foot out of this product. And that's frustrating because makeup stains. Like if you get it on your shirt or something, I likely, when using this foundation, will take off my shirt to put my makeup on and then put my shirt back on when I have more control over the situation, because I don't want this to spit foundation all over me. In addition to that, when I put the doe foot back in to the bottle, it also spits foundation everywhere. So it drives me nuts. This Clarins lip oil does the same thing. Like their doe foot is pretty stuck in there. You have to be super careful with it when you pull it in and when you push it back, when you pull it out, when you push it back in. In contrast, this is the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. And I think that this doe foot is just the tiniest doe foot I have ever seen in my life. And maybe it's because we are indoctrinated now in the giant doe foot, right? That comes in our lip oils and our lip glosses and all the things. So now that looks like a tiny doe foot when that is like a normal size doe foot. But this size doe foot reminds me of the doe foot that comes in the Urban Decay eye primer, except for that it is thicker, like it's more wide in depth, whereas the eyeshadow primer one from Urban Decay is more of like a flat paddle with fuzz on it. This one does have a little bit of that like L shape to it, but it is so small. You barely get any product on the wand to put in the areas that you need. And I know it's a concealer, you don't need that much product, but to have to dip in like 3 or 4 times to get the amount of product that I'm going to put here and here and here on my face is ridiculous. Another thing that I have on here is non-retractable items. So I can think of a couple things here, and one of them are these kind of products. So it's not just Makeup by Mario that does this. I do have like a MAC Squirt Lip Glossy oil or something like that, and another one by I can't remember who that do the same thing, but this is a lip product that is not retractable. So when I push it up, I have to use all that product or I run the chances of smushing it into the cap. And if I forget about that, I can't roll it back down and save that product. So I'm either like overusing the product or not getting enough because I'm afraid to push out enough and then having to use my finger for a lip gloss. It's ridiculous. Let's not make products that you can't retract back into the lid. And if it is a product that cannot sustain rolling up, don't put it in packaging like this. Put it in a different kind of packaging, right? Put it in a lip gloss tube or something like that. I did bring this guy out because this is a lip gloss that has all the things about it that are wonderful, but this looks like it's got a ton of gloss in it, and this is probably the smallest amount of gloss that I have in any of my glosses in my collection. It's a Forget the Filler Plumping Smoothing Gloss by Lawless. Now that's not to say that I don't like them and I won't purchase them, because obviously I have purchased them. This is my 3rd one and I love this gloss. But this takes absolutely no time to go through. As a matter of fact, I know that if I want to go through a lip gloss in a very short period of time in my collection to pull out one of my Forget the Fillers, because there's not much product in there. Once you got the doe foot in there, there's like, I don't know, maybe half the amount of what's in this lip oil in that lip gloss. I also have on here, and the last thing that I have on here is inconsistent packaging. And where I come up with that is like, I just ordered some palettes from Unearthly and from Ensley Rain, and I'm not trying to pick on them because they are, you know, smaller indie brands. But a lot of our mainstream brands do this too, in that inconsistent and awkward packaging, I guess, is what I have. But a lot of other brands do this too, in which they have like different palette sizes for different palettes. And I think that I get it. Like sometimes there's like 20 pans in an eyeshadow palette, and sometimes there are only 8. I think in that way, there needs to be different inconsistencies in the palette sizing, right? But I also think that there are some brands where there's 16 pans in this, 16 pans in this, and 16 pans in that, and we have 3 different sizes of eyeshadow palettes, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But then from an awkward sizing standpoint, I have so many things. And again, Glamlight is an indie brand, but they have so many different sizes of their palettes and makeups, you know, and like dimensions of their palettes. It's not even funny. But then we even have Too Faced and like Tarte that do this too. So this is old, right? This is the Blush Bazaar by Tarte. It's an old product. I also have like an eyeshadow palette that's like this, but beyond that, Tarte has like circles, it has squares, it has rectangles, it has bigger squares. It has so many different formats for their eyeshadow palettes. It's absolutely ridiculous. I am very OCD, and all my palettes need to like line up, and I know that that's a me problem, not an everybody problem. But like, even through the lens of like a blush palette or a highlighting palette, like how ridiculous is this shape? What even is this shape for? Like, are you meant to leave this like this on your table? Can you not store this at all? Because I'll tell you, storing it like this, it teeters. Storing it like this, impossible. Like, that is a me problem. I get it. But I have 2 different palettes in this because the awkwardness of this palette, these palettes, like I purchased them because of the, you know, the painter's palette like thought process of them, but it never dawned on me that they would be such a pain in the ass to store. The cake palette, same scenario. Like, that is enormous, and this is an enormous palette for 20 pans of eyeshadow. So this could also fit into the bulky packaging phase. Like, there's not enough eyeshadow for this palette to look as big as it does. That was a quick ranty video. I would love to hear what your guys' product pet peeves are. I know that there are more. I know that I have more. I'm just not sure at this point what those more are. This was just the small list that I had written down to talk about. I did want to mention, like, brands that do like palette sizing really, really well, in my humble opinion, are like ABH, where all their palettes are like the same shape. They did go kind of off the rails and do that like Emreezy one, which was super long, but it did have a couple of face palettes in it. I will say though that they did spend some time when they were putting out like the like highlighter palettes, where there was like 3 different sizes of highlighter palettes, which drives me nuts. Again, a me problem, not a them problem. Melt, I think, does it really well for the most part, except for their like limited edition palettes, and even then sometimes their limited edition are a wonky shape, but still within the same like thought process. I think Natasha Denona does it really well. She's got her big ones, her middies, and her minis. There are reasons, rhyme and reason for it. When a brand is pumping out palette after palette after palette with no rhyme or reason to the shape, like, how are you supposed to have any kind of brand awareness if your palettes are all different all the time? That's my thought process on it. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. No harm, no foul. Like, I'm not mad at these brands. I will continue to purchase from them, obviously, because I have and I will and I do. But these were some of my pet peeves, and I would love to hear from you on what some of yours are. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best that you can. I hope that you are all loving each other, being kind humans, and living your best life. You're getting ready for the holiday season as we roll right through November and into December. And I don't know when you're seeing this video, but I'm sure it's sometime around then. And yeah, that you just stay sane. Stay sane. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, friends.